Well, hello everybody. Welcome to P.B.M. Money. My name is Brian, and today I want to clear up something that I have been saying all along, but I realized the other day that I have not broken this out. In many videos, I say that building wealth is simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. That's not telling you much. So today, I'm going to break out what I believe to be the most important and simple, but not easy things that you can do that will build wealth if you follow this. And the first one is knowledge. Most people have, especially Gen Zers, because they have not been teaching finance in public schools for years. So it's not their fault that they are very uneducated about finances. In fact, quick story, I was teaching a young man who was 22 years old at the time, didn't know how credit cards worked, didn't know how to write a check, and didn't keep track of his checking account. Absolutely clueless. We fixed that. So the first thing you need to do is to educate yourself. Now, that does not mean that you have to go to school and do all of that. You can find out things you need to know on the internet, like what's the best way to build wealth? What tools do I need? What information do I need? How do most people build wealth in this country? For me, that was real estate and the stock market. And I have spent you should know that I have a bachelor's in business and a minor in real estate. So I had a little bit of knowledge before I got back in at this time. But I went through and I educated myself to the best of my ability. I watched videos, I read articles, I talked to bankers, I talked to realtors, I talked to everybody, trying to get as much knowledge as I could so that I could set out a game plan. That brings me to my second thing. So if you have knowledge, add a system. What do I mean? If you make the decision, like I did, that real estate is the quickest and safest way to build wealth in this country and most consistent, then you need to set out some type of a system so that you can save money and buy real estate on a regular basis. So, what I did is, and I mean it, I had absolutely nothing when I started. I did cash back on my credit cards, and I paid them off, and then when I got to $500 cash back, I put that in a mutual fund. And I did that for several years, until I had about $4,000, and I took half of that, $2,000, and I went and bought my first little rental house. And the only reason I needed only $2,000 down is because I hadn't bought a house in 20 years, so I was a first-time home buyer. So I got a grant from the state. So I only had $2,000 in that first little house, and I took the money from that, saved it, plus my cash back, and the snowball kept going. My system was to take my savings and invest in real estate. Now, along the way, you have to have an emergency fund, and you have to set aside money for purchasing more real estate. But you see how it works. You have to have a system, a way to save money. I do mine automatically. A way to hold money. I keep it in a mutual fund till I'm ready to spend it. A way to invest money. For me, it was real estate. And in the first couple of years, actually, it was in 2020, so the stock market was going crazy. I put the profits into the stock market, and then when the stocks went up, I took it out. But figure out your own system. And then reinvest all profits. The last part is probably the hardest, and that is discipline. So you gain knowledge. You've figured out your system on what you're going to purchase and how you're going to do it. Now it's going to take discipline. Now, I have always been a saver, so it's been not very hard for me to save money. But I understand that for some people it's a very hard thing. So one of the things that you can do is, if you don't have self-discipline to save or to not spend, have somebody hold you accountable. And that's one of the reasons, one of the main reasons I started this channel, was to keep myself accountable to you, so that if I fail, I have to come on here and say, hey, I failed. And I do not want to do that. So have the discipline come from the inside and from the outside. And another thing you need to realize is most people, since they don't have discipline, are going to be a little off-putting when you try to discipline your spending. You know, you can't go out to the bars every weekend. You can't go out to eat all the time and expect to save money. So you're going to have to start turning those things down depending on how much you make and what your goals are. Another thing I have found about discipline is it's kind of like a muscle in your body. The more you flex it, the easier and stronger it becomes. So I've had discipline with money most of my life, so it's not hard for me. I have gotten my expenses down. My entire spending is less than $900 a month. That includes groceries and car and gas and phone, the whole thing. Now, the last thing you need to understand about discipline: you're running a marathon. You are not sprinting. This is a marathon. And I'll tell you, one of the things, I don't do this, but I have taught this because I know most people are not built like me. Every so often, like every 6 months, you should allow yourself a splurge, you know. Take a little bit of your emergency fund, assuming you've built one up, well, and go to dinner or go buy a shirt or a pair of shoes or something. Splurge, so it does not feel like you are sacrificing everything. Splurge a little bit on yourself once every so often, and that will encourage you to continue to be disciplined. It's a marathon, not a sprint. So if you gain knowledge, devise your system, and are disciplined, you put those three together and you will be wealthy. There is no question at all. It'll take time, but there's no question. This is a proven system and it works without fail. In real estate, I don't know about the stock market because I'm out of the market now. It got too herky-jerky for me, so I pulled it all out, put it into mutual fund, and continued to buy real estate. But whatever your system is, it's going to take discipline. And anytime that you are feeling like you want to spend or want to give up, or anything that's going to interfere with your goal, I want you to ask yourself the same question I ask myself and the same question I tell everybody else to ask themselves that I teach. And it's a very simple question. How bad do you want it? How bad do you want it? Do you want it bad enough that you're willing to give it up over a $50 shirt? Which is more important, the $50 shirt or your goal? Are you willing to miss your goals because you want to go out with your friends on the weekends? Now, I'm not judging the answer one way or the other, but you need to understand that these are conscious decisions that you need to make. How bad do you want it? If you want it bad enough and you're willing to put in the work, it is a guarantee that you will be wealthy. Now, if you go at it aggressive like I have, and you do real estate, it'll take about 10 to 11 years. Like I said, it's a marathon. This is not a sprint. Don't get into it thinking you're going to be rich in 3 years. I mean, it happens, but that's not the tried and true and guaranteed way. 10 to 11 years. That's what I say. That's what Dave Ramsey says. That's what most people say. 10 to 11 years. So knowledge plus system plus discipline equals wealth. Guaranteed. You guys have yourself a great day, a great week, and happy investing.